Jurassic Park ride.
I miss University.
It's fun there.
Hey there! Is this thing working?
Prehistoric Nick, a fossil expert here at Jurassic Quest. What you're looking at is the Triassic period. The Triassic started about 251 million years ago at the end of another period that we call the Permian. One of the earliest dinosaurs that we know of was...
Without big competitors, dinosaurs thrived. And in the Jurassic period, they quickly became...
We're diving deep into the Jurassic Ocean. The big shell you see is an ammonite. Ammonites are cephalopods. That means they are relatives of the squid, octopus, and nautilus. Their spiral shells protected them from predators. Some shells got to reach sizes of 6 feet across or more. The animal that looks kind of like a small dolphin is an ichthyosaurus.
What is a volcano?
Not a mammal, so it isn't related to dolphins at all.
Guys, ready for your Jurassic Quest?
131 million years.
Captain Caleb here. Because in order to get into the Jurassic period, we're diving deep into the Jurassic Ocean. The big shell you see is an ammonite. Ammonites are cephalopods. That means they are relatives of the squid, octopus, and nautilus. Their spiral shells protected them from predators. Some shells got to reach sizes of 6 feet across or more. The animal that looks kind of like a small dolphin is an ichthyosaurus. That name means fish lizard. It's an aquatic reptile, not a mammal, so it isn't related to dolphins at all. We can't forget about the small, long-necked animal swimming with it. That's the plesiosaurus, another important part of this ecosystem. As a wise man once said, there's always a bigger fish. The big critter here is the magical Leopleurodon. Leopleurodon was a member of the pliosaur family, which is a kind of short-necked plesiosaur. It's important to point out that the animals you see here are not dinosaurs, but reptiles that lived in the ocean at the same time as the dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, for the most part, lived on land and had legs that went straight underneath their hips and not splayed out to the sides like lizards were.
That's cool. Is that a megalodon? No. What the megalodon?
No, that's a shark baby.
What is kind of like...
It looks like somebody broke.
We don't know for sure that some dinosaurs didn't spit poison, but we don't have any reason to think that Dilophosaurus did. There's also no evidence.
Look at those dinosaurs up there. They're just full of I see like a...
Neck and tail were covered in bony plates. Stegosaurus had a special weapon along its tail.
What? There's a one up there! There's one up there!
That it would use to defend itself from predators. And the predator it had to worry about the most was Allosaurus. T-Rex isn't the only scary meat-eating dinosaur we had here at Jurassic Quest. Allosaurus was one of the larger predators around Jurassic. Allosaurus had long arms for a theropod with big, hooked claws. These could help it grip onto its prey, while it used its serrated teeth as its primary weapon. We know it used its arms because scientists have found signs of microscopic stress fractures on the bones of their forearms. This happens in bones when a person or an animal is using force to move heavy weight with their bodies. They might have used their arms to keep prey from getting away, or possibly to hold onto a Stegosaurus's tail. The Coelosaur family was made up of mostly small predators. They're an early member of the Dinosaur family that lived in what is now China. The Coelosaur family was made up of mostly small predators, but as time went by, some Coelosaurs eventually became a bit bigger, specifically Tyrannosaurus rex.
We're not there yet.
The big, long-necked dinosaur in this scene is a Apatosaurus. Apatosaurus is what we call a sauropod, or a long-necked dinosaur. Sauropods were the biggest animals to ever walk on Earth. These long-necked giants didn't even waste time chewing, but swallowed the leaves from trees whole. But they had a special trick to help them digest their food. Sauropods would sometimes crane their long necks down to the ground and swallow small stones. Those rocks would help them grind up their food once it was inside. Those rocks are called gastroliths, or stomach rocks in Latin. These gastroliths are super important because they help scientists to learn the migration patterns of these dinosaurs by matching the gastroliths back to the areas where the rocks originally came from.
Please pause your audio tour until you...
Oh, look, it's moving itself.
Where's the megalodon?
It's all the way over there. You see it?
Oh yeah, I see the shark fin. I don't. Wait till we see it.
Extra scary turkey. We also know that at least one velociraptor attacked a protoceratops, the next dinosaur in this scene. This is thanks to the fossil of a velociraptor and protoceratops found, who died still locked in combat. The protoceratops broke the velociraptor's arm with its powerful beak, moments before they were both buried in sand by a landslide. The other dinosaur in the scene, Oviraptor, has an unfortunate name, meaning egg thief. When this dinosaur is discovered, it was found over a nest of eggs thought to belong to Protoceratops. After later research, scientists realized it was sitting on a nest of its own eggs. But the name stuck and is still debated if Oviraptor actually ate eggs.
Look, you can
Here
see
at Jurassic
some of the
Quest,
chunks out.
ours take theirs sunny side up every morning for breakfast.
Yet another dinosaur from Mongolia is the large Therizinosaurus you see here, with the long claws. The claws on its hands could grow up to 3 feet long, making them the longest claws in the animal kingdom. Most of what we know about Therizinosaurus comes from animals closely related to it. The only fossils we have of this animal are its shoulders, arms, and hands. It is believed to be an herbivore, but we are still looking for more fossils to know for sure. The dinosaur next to it is a Lorotitan, dinosaurs called Lambeosaurs, which are famous for the elaborate crests on their heads. These crests would have certainly...
Oh, the one that stuck. The one that was getting the other one had like bite marks. That's Athena's dinosaur twin right there.
used in some Lambeosaurs as resonating chambers to make sounds used to communicate effectively through the herd. Speaking of communication, I've been directed to ask you all to keep an eye out for any free-roaming dinosaurs that may or may not be wandering around the park.
Hi, Park Ranger Marty here. Hope you're not mad at me about accidentally releasing the T-Rexes. Anyway, in this scene you see Shianchusaurus. Shianchusaurus is a Tyrannosaur, so there's still a lot of unanswered questions about it. But I can tell you this much. In the United States, we do not typically refer to this dinosaur as Shianchusaurus. We typically just call it Pinocchio Rex.
Now we travel to Argentina. The big animal you see in this scene is Giganotosaurus, arguably one of the largest meat-eating dinosaurs. Though it may look a lot like T-Rex, it's actually a much different animal. Unlike a T-Rex, it has 3 claws on each hand, a lighter bone structure, and teeth that were designed for slicing. Unlike a T-Rex's, which were meant for crushing through bones and ripping car tops open. Speaking of which, if you see one of our missing T-Rexes, please let one of our 3 security guards know where. Second largest in the scene is Carnotaurus, which means meat-eating bull because of peculiar horns on its head. It might have used its horns as a weapon against other predators. It's a very funny-looking dinosaur, not just because of the horns, but because of its tiny little arms.
Oh my god.
Carnotaurus is one of the smallest arms of any known dinosaur, even smaller than the T-Rex. The small dinosaur you see in this scene is Albersaurus.
Se parece Chiquis y a Woody.
That lived in Argentina during the
Look
late
at the
Cretaceous.
arms.
It's believed to have eaten insects. Ew.
Please.
Traffic snow.
Parasaurolophus is a hadrosaur, a family of dinosaurs sometimes called duck-billed dinosaurs because of the shape of their snouts. Other hadrosaurs include Iguanodon, Tyrannosaurus, Aloratitan, and Edmontosaurus, among many others. Parasaurolophus is a cool dinosaur because it's one of the few dinosaurs where we know what they might have sounded like. Paleontologists discovered that by looking at the crest on its head. What they found were tubes inside going back and forth between the nasal passage and the throat. When they recreated blowing air through their tubes, they discovered that the crest would have made... No, guys, I'm not going to do that.
Sarah.
By the way, hadrosaurs are prey animals. Their sound might have attracted large predators. If our missing T-Rexes hear that sound coming from one of your cars, they might be following the tour back in the direction of their cage. So perhaps we should move on to the next step. Yeah?
What's that?
Quetzalcoatlus is the largest flying animal to ever take to the sky. It lived in what's now Texas because everything is bigger in Texas. It's named after the Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec feather serpent deity. It had a wingspan of 36 feet. That's the same as a small plane. Standing like it is
I
here,
can
it
see
was the
some
height of a
metal.
giraffe. But
I
would
can see
weigh
some of the
less
bottom
than
of the
600
metal.
pounds.
Okay.
That's a lot, but it's incredibly light for an animal of the size because it was doing everything possible. Go ahead and text that question to 844-DINO-411 or 844-346-6411.
The
Albertosaurio.
carnivore in here is Albertosaurus. Albertosaurus is a close relative of T-Rex, roughly half the size of a fully grown T-Rex. Albertosaurus is named after the Canadian province of Alberta, where almost all of the remains of Albertosaurus have been found. This makes Albertosaurus a Canadian dinosaur.
That's where he wants to
And if you listen very carefully, you can almost hear it apologizing. Sorry about that. The other dinosaur here, Anzu, was named after a Mesopotamian bird demon. It is a large North American oviraptorid found in the Hell Creek Formation of South Dakota and had a beak with no teeth. Anzu is relatively a new discovery.
In this scene, we have a group of dinosaurs called ceratopsians, or horn-faced dinosaurs. The ones in this scene include Titanoceratops, Cosmoceratops, Styracosaurus, and Brachioceratops. Now, there are 2 families of ceratopsians, Chasmosaurians and Citrosaurians. Now, Chasmosaurians have 2 prominent eye horns above their eyes and a very large frill. Citrosaurians do not typically have prominent eye horns and tend to have smaller frills, but sometimes they have some rather ornate horns coming out of those frills. Now, if you'd like to learn more about ceratopsians or any dinosaur, you can text your questions to me at 844-DINO-411. That's 844-346-6411, and I'll be happy to help.
This armored dinosaur is Ankylosaurus, also known as fused lizard. Ankylosaurus was armored from head to toe with bits of bones on their skin called osteoderms. They are known for having a bony club tail, which was used to swing back and forth as a weapon to deter predators. Scientists have even found a T-Rex fossil with a broken leg that was shattered at about the same height as an Ankylosaurus tail club. This suggests that Ankylosaurus could fight off a T-Rex and possibly even win. The animal here is a Pachycephalosaurus, meaning thick-headed lizard, named after its thick, domed skull. It is often depicted as being used to headbutt each other for dominance, but some scientists think it is more likely used for display, and that the large dome didn't grow until much later in life,
look, it's shaking.
which has implications for the next dinosaur in this scene, Dracorex Hogwartsia. And if that sounds like something from a Harry Potter book, that's because it's from a Harry Potter book. The name actually means Dragon King of Hogwarts, because its skull looked a lot like the skull of a dragon. There are some who think that as this dinosaur aged, the shape of its skull changed, and that what we're really seeing here is a juvenile Cephalosaurus. But we won't know for sure until these fossils are found.
Dinosaur friends.
I've got great news, everyone. Our brand new S3 is one of T-Rex That's great news because T-Rex is one of the most common favorite dinosaurs. So that means we can actually talk about the T-Rex what we have on the Tyrannosaurus Rex had the most powerful bite of any
Wait,
mammal.
what? There's a small
Between 8,000
Tyrannosaurus.
and really trick that T-Rex had of its very short sleeve. It also had something called a septic bite. T-Rex had very short arms, so it couldn't brush its teeth. That means its mouth was filled with bits of its last meal, filling its mouth with bacteria. When T-Rex went hunting, it would sometimes bite into prey that got away. If that happened, some bacteria from T-Rex's mouth might infect the wound, causing the prey animal to get sick. T-Rex could use its terrific sense of smell to track the prey down. Let's get out of here before that other Rex picks up our scent. On to the next area, the Triceratops. Park Ranger Marty can tell you all about them. They're his favorite.
Make sure to pause your audio tour until you reach our next dinosaur scene.
And finally, here at my favorite dinosaur,
another
the Triceratops. The cool thing about Triceratops... No! And pull the Triceratops' head right off. That meant it was less of a shield and more of a pull tab on my favorite dinosaur. But that crest was still there for some reason. Most likely a display to attract mates or to scare away rival dinosaurs. Wait, I think that T-Rex is starting to notice your vehicle. Better make like a tree and bark out of here. Well, the good news is, at least we're not going to see anything scarier or with a bigger bite.
And had rows of hundreds of teeth. These teeth would sometimes fall out, thought to be the petrified tongues of dragons and sea serpents. What they actually were was no less scary. The good news is that Megalodon is definitely extinct, despite what...
The Cretaceous was the longest of the three periods of the Mesozoic. The Cretaceous period saw all kinds of strange new life forms, including weird new plants that we call flowers. We're starting off in what is now England during the early Cretaceous, roughly 120 million years ago. The duck-billed dinosaur you see is what we forced to be discovered and named. Some of you might have already guessed that iguanodon means iguana tooth. When iguanodon was discovered in England, no one had ever even heard of dinosaurs yet. So when it came time to name this bizarre... The animal it's next to is Baryonyx. Baryonyx was a carnivore, and specifically, it ate fish. We know that it ate fish because when the first Baryonyx skeleton was found in England in the 1980s, it had fossilized fish bones and fish scales inside of its belly, along with a few bones from a young iguanodon. Since it lived in what is now England, as one of its last meals was fish, this could be the earliest evidence of anyone in the UK ordering fish and chips.
Our quest has now taken us from Europe to the continent of Asia, still in the early Cretaceous. The big dino you see here is Utyrannus, the feathered tyrant. Utyrannus is a relative of the T-Rex. Utyrannus lived in the Liaoning province of China. What makes Utyrannus special is that it is the largest dinosaur that we know of with feathers. We know that Utyrannus had feathers because of where and when it lived. About 120 million years ago,
That's a fat tail.
blanketed much of the Liaoning province into hot ash. Like what happened today, thousands of years ago.
Ma, I can't take anymore.
It's great for paleontologists because it preserves soft tissue, in some cases including feathers.
That's a
Hi,
female.
it's Park Ranger Marty again, and welcome to the early Cretaceous. Can anyone guess where Utah raptor was discovered? That's right, Cincinnati. Just kidding, folks. Utah raptor was found in Utah. Utah raptor is the largest known member of the raptor family. Now behind him is a predator named Seats. Seats was a massive predator that lived at the end of the early Cretaceous. Very little is known about Seats due to how recent of a discovery it is, but it is thought to be a member of the Allosauridae group that lived into the early Cretaceous. Seats lived in North America at about the same time as some members of the Tyrannosaur family, but those Tyrannosaurs didn't get any larger than about the size of a Great Dane because the alpha predator role had already been filled by Seats. It wasn't until Seats went extinct.
Our journey now takes us to the continent of Africa in the early Cretaceous period. The dinosaur standing here is one that I bet a lot of you know. Can you guess what it is? Did you say Spinosaurus? You got it! Spinosaurus is one of the largest carnivores to ever walk the earth, but it mostly ate fish. We know that because Spinosaurus' teeth have been found embedded in fossilized bones of a large fish, although they have also been found in the bones of other dinosaurs. Spinosaurus is a creature that was a mystery for a long time. Its fossils were discovered in 1912, but they were destroyed during World War II, when the museum they were in was hit during a bombing raid. It wasn't until the 1990s when Spinosaurus' fossils were rediscovered.
Welcome to the Western Interior Seaway. That's a shallow Great Plains of what is now the United States and Canada used to be underwater. Lots of marine fossils are found in places like Kansas. The first creature here is the long-necked Elasmosaurus. Second is Archelon, the biggest sea turtle known to exist. It had a leathery shell called carapace, and just like sea turtles today, it probably laid eggs on land. The huge, fearsome creature is Tylosaurus. A relative of Mosasaurus, its name means the knob lizard because of a bony protrusion on the end of its snout that might have been used to ram into its prey. Tylosaurus is a member of the Squamata family. That's the group of reptiles that includes lizards and snakes. They had forked tongues for tasting scents in the water. They even had a row of teeth in the dark. Also, while doing so, be sure to stay inside your vehicles for the duration of the tour. With all of these aquatic creatures, the last thing